she brings another guy and another girl upstairs into the room while I'm in there.
That is true, Your Honor. I did let him come over just because he was drinking. He said he needed to sleep it off for a while. So I'm thinking he's gone. And so I did come with the guy and the girl to my house and my room.
I don't like condoms, so I don't use condoms.
Exactly.
I'm allergic to latex, so I can use non-latex condoms.
Why do people keep saying they're allergic to latex but not allergic to sex?
You're
right. If you allergic to latex, then you don't need to be having no sex.
When he first brought out the condom, I said, is it a no-latex condom? He told me, no, it's latex. I said, I can't use that. I said, we better off not.
This is wild, folks. Ms. Englund and Mr. Kaiser have been together for 6 years and share a 3-year-old son, but now he's denying their 6-month-old baby, Isaac. She's here to prove he's the dad, and things are about to get messy. Buckle up, this drama is just getting started.
You say that you and Mr. Kaiser have been together for 6 years, have a 3-year-old son together, but claim he's now denying your 6-month-old son, Isaac, and you're here to prove that he is the father. You acknowledge one child with Ms. Englund, but say Isaac is not yours. You say that during your separation from Ms. Englund, she slept with another man, and you are 100% sure he is the father.
Ms. Englund claims she turned Mr. Kaiser from ashy to classy and is furious he's denying the baby. Mr. Kaiser accuses her of moving in with another guy during a breakup and getting pregnant. Their arguments about Isaac's conception feel like a soap opera, but with extra yelling.
We've been through everything. I've supported him, I've took care of him, I've turned him into the man he is. You know, I took him from ashy to classy. He's not supportive at all of it, and he wants to say that it's not his.
I've always been classy.
No, that can be debated.
Why? She knows why I denied the baby. She stayed gone for 3 months with this other man.
Did you move in with another man,
Yes,
Miss
Your Honor.
Englund?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
These two can't agree on dinner without it becoming a paternity battle. Ms. Englund says arguments always circle back to, that's not my baby. Mr. Kaiser admits it's hard to live with constant doubt, and their home sounds like it's held together with duct tape and drama.
If it doesn't get solved today, it's over. I can't do it anymore. Everything is an argument. If we're talking about what's for dinner, peanut butter and jelly, fries, burgers, everything is, that's not my baby.
A paternity question, it permeates every aspect of your life. Is it difficult for you to handle all of this, Mr. Kaiser?
Yes, ma'am.
The feeling of not
She don't
knowing?
understand what I'm going through, Your Honor.
Their relationship is crashing in slow motion, with both blaming each other. Ms. Englund says she sought comfort from another man after her sister's death. Mr. Kaiser accuses her of cheating, and the yelling overshadows their search for the truth about Isaac's dad.
But she was still pregnant by this other man the whole time we were together, Your Honor.
You're thinking the whole time, and she's pregnant by another man, or were
Right.
you thinking this could potentially be my child as well?
I didn't think it was my child, Your Honor. I always thought it was the other man's child. I can't take care of another man's baby, Your Honor, especially the man she was cheating on me with.
I was not cheating. I never wanted
She
to
said, Your Honor, she said she wasn't cheating on me, right?
Things turn into a weird science debate. Ms. Englund insists Isaac's rare traits, like tongue tie and natal teeth, prove Mr. Kaiser is the dad. Mr. Kaiser questions if the other guy has those traits. It's a chaotic mix of biology and family drama.
That baby's also tongue-tied, genetic trait. That baby
Okay.
looks like our 3-year-old child.
She don't know if that guy's father
That's not
is
true,
tongue-tied.
'cause I-
What if the other guy didn't have it, but his daddy had it? You see what I'm saying, Your Honor?
His daddy did not have it.
How does she know that, Your
Ask
Honor?
questions.
How does she know that?
Because baby Isaac is tongue-tied.
A doctor explains that while traits like tongue tie and natal teeth can run in families, they're not definitive proof. The science is complex, leaving both sides unsatisfied. The stage is now set for the DNA test results.
Well, the research is all over the place when it comes to a tongue tie. There is no research that says 100% that if he has a tongue tie, his child will have a tongue tie. And it's all over the place, the definition of that. So any research that follows that is inconclusive. In my practice, I would say most of my parents report that there is tongue tie in the family.
The big reveal.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Kaiser, you are not the father.
Are you sure?
I'm sorry, Mr. Kaiser.
You sure?
are.
Wow, this is a mess already, and we're just getting started. Ms. Nesbitt sues Mr. Henderson to prove he's the dad of her 7-month-old daughter, Zion. Meanwhile, Mr. Henderson accuses her of cheating with a neighbor and admits he's only barely helped with the baby. Stick around, this wild ride is just getting started.
Ms. Nesbitt, you are suing to prove to Mr. Henderson that he is the father of your 7-month-old daughter, Zion. You say that when the results prove you right, you expect Mr. Henderson to step up. Mr. Henderson, you claim your case is simple. You say Ms. Nesbitt cheated on you with her neighbor during the window of conception, and he is Ziane's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Here's where it gets even messier. Ms. Nesbitt says she told Mr. Henderson not to sign the birth certificate, but he sneaks off and signs it anyway. Now, they're arguing over who's more wrong while he admits regretting his decision. Trust me, this argument's about to hit a new level of ridiculous.
You know that's your child. You've been knowing from the beginning. You signed the birth certificate. You even snuck down the stairs and signed it without my permission. You know the baby yours.
Yes, I did.
I went downstairs to go get my birth certificate, and his name was on there. I told him not to put his name on there because I had doubts from the beginning, but he snuck anyways and signed his name on there.
Oh, you had asked him previously not to sign it because you had doubts yourself.
Yes, Your Honor.
Drama overload. Mr. Henderson claims Ms. Nesbitt told him the baby might not be his, and she admits it was said in anger. It's a circus of trust issues and hurt feelings. But wait, Ms. Nesbitt is about to spill some serious tea that takes things up a notch.
Because she kept coming to me like, this not your baby, LaDon. Like one time
After Ziane was born?
Yes, I came in the house one night drunk. I don't know if she was mad at me or not. Probably could have said it out of spite because I came in late. But I come in, she get an argument. Oh, she's not yours. That's why she's not your baby.
Did you say that?
Yes, Your Honor. I did it out of angry. I was really angry when I said it.
She said it several times, Your Honor.
Did she just admit that? Yep, Ms. Nesbitt confesses to sleeping with her neighbor, Mr. Brown, after a fight with Mr. Henderson. The timing lines up way too well with her pregnancy. Buckle up because Mr. Brown is about to join this drama fest.
Well, me and Mr. Henderson, we got into an argument, and it led in my apartment hallway, and Mr. Brown seen, so he came to my door, he comforted me, and it led off to him coming in, giving me a massage, and led off to me. 2 weeks later, I ended up pregnant, and I told Mr. Henderson.
Did she all say I had slept with Mr. Brown?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, she did?
She told me she used the condom, Your Honor.
Enter Mr. Brown, who's all, y'all dragged me into this? He admits to a one-night stand with Ms. Nesbitt, but denies being the dad, even flirting with her in court. His casual attitude feels like a comedy show, but things heat up when they debate the baby's looks.
I first met her, she had moved to my apartment, been a couple doors down. I used to always flirt with her, to blink an eye at her, you know what I'm saying? Because she was a cute girl, you know?
But you did have a sexual encounter with her.
Yeah, one time.
It was just like birthday sex, that was about it.
It wasn't more that she used to always hit me up and text me and all that stuff. I used to text her different names, like
it was
this
just
Tracy,
one time.
Nancy.
Your Honor, she's telling me that it's been going on longer than that.
Now it's a not it game of fatherhood. Mr. Brown insists the baby doesn't look like him, even pulling out photos to prove his point. Meanwhile, Ms. Nesbitt and Mr. Henderson argue again, because why not? The DNA test results are the only thing that can settle this.
This is a picture of
me on the right and her on the left. Yeah, it is. She look nothing like at all. Ear, look at her cheeks, nothing. Lips,
so
nose.
You submit to the court that she doesn't look anything like you, in your opinion.
Nothing like me.
She asked you to take a test. Do you mind taking
a
paternity test?
Yeah, and I always tell her what I tell her. I don't mind.
Your Honor, that's not true. He called me and said that we should take a DNA test, and I told him no. He said that's unfair.
Boom.
Mr. Henderson, you are her father.
Told you was her father from the beginning.
Ms. Common storms in, accusing Mr. Baker of denying their daughter Breeze and being a no-show dad. She's ready to drop DNA proof, while Mr. Baker claims he was dad of the year until he found out she cheated. Buckle up, this wild ride just started.
You claim the defendant has been denying your 2-year-old daughter Breeze and refuses to do anything for her. You are furious and testify that you are certain he is the father and plan to prove that today. Is Mr. Baker, you claim you were a loving father for the first 1.5 years of Breeze's life until 5 months ago when you appeared in couples court and learned Ms. Commons cheated.
Ms. Common says Mr. Baker ignores Brez, who loves rubbing faces and showing affection. She gets emotional as the audience claps like it's a concert. Just when it gets heartfelt, Mr. Baker swings back with more doubts.
His family even threw her baby shower. My family, we don't need to throw baby showers because my auntie, she like well off or whatever, so she buys my kids whatever we need. My thing is for me to come as a woman and tell you my flaws and then you take it and try to throw it against my child, it's not right. She don't deserve that. She did not ask to be here. She did not want to be your daughter. She did not want to be my daughter for that matter, so you shouldn't do that to her.
Mr. Baker claims Ms. Commons cheated nonstop and lied like it was her job. He says her confessions made him second-guess being the dad. Ms. Commons snaps back, saying he was fine with her pregnancy until she came clean.
First of all, I got doubts because everything that come out of her mouth a lie. Like, all the stuff she did in the past, from cheating with multiple people, I could catch her like if her phone bing, she had it.
If my phone bing,
people
daddy.
You just want it could be if my phone been, it could be Jesus Christ. He gonna think it's I'm sleeping with.
Oh my gosh!
Mr. Baker reveals catching Ms. Commons with 2 guys on back-to-back nights. She admits to oral activities, but denies cheating. The audience gasps as Judge Lake looks like she needs a coffee break.
2 separate guys on 2 different occasions. On 2 different days, though. It was the weekend, right? Basically, I'm gonna say this. One weekend, right, Friday, I'm going out, I go hang with the homies or whatever. She called me like around 5 something. Is you gonna come over tonight? I say no, cause I'm finna go to a party or whatever. Trying to test her and see how loyal she is. But this was at the time when I want to see whether I'm gonna wanna be with her or not, and see can I trust her.
Ms. Commons claims Breeze's asthma proves Mr. Baker is the dad since he has it too. Mr. Baker isn't buying it and brandishes his inhaler. The tension builds as his sister steps in with some spicy remarks.
When I talked to the doctor said that down the line, whooping cough can cause some form of asthma. He walks around with his asthma pump in his pocket. He pulls out the asthma pump. That's how I know for a fact that's his daughter. For a fact.
You think that because your daughter had the whooping cough, which could develop into asthma, and Mr. Baker has asthma, that proves that he's the biological father.
Exactly.
Mr. Baker's sister says Ms. Commons was with other guys when Breeze was conceived. Ms. Commons fires back, calling her salty and dramatic. The argument gets so fiery, it feels like a reality show.
But this baby,
I knew for a fact she was having sex with other guys.
During the time Breeze was conceived?
Absolutely. Yeah, because we would talk on the phone too, and she'd tell me like, I just left from my friend's house, this dude, and she'd tell me like, oh girl, his sex wasn't about nothing, like that type of stuff. So I knew for a fact that she was sleeping around.
You said that to your brother, you told him?
Yep, I told him.
The DNA results reveal
when it comes to 2-year-old Bree Baker, Mr. Baker, you are the father.
This kicks off with drama and comedy gold. Miss Davies reveals her 5-year relationship with Mr. Hunter ended over wild rumors, a canceled wedding, and doubts about their son, Jaden's paternity. Mr. Hunter claims he caught her in the act, setting the stage for pure chaos. Buckle up. This story is just getting started.
You say that after being with Mr. Hunter for 5 years, he's now given into lies and rumors about your past, scrapped your wedding plans, and is now denying your son, Jaden. You say you've never fully accepted the Jaden is your son because Ms. Davies has a questionable past. In fact, you say you believe you even caught her in the act of cheating on you.
Oh, the drama. Their love story began with sunshine, but ended in a storm of distrust. Ms. Davies found messages from other women on Mr. Hunter's phone, and in retaliation, she texted other men. Mr. Hunter found shady messages too, turning their relationship into a messy game of who cheats better. Stay tuned, it only gets wilder.
Well, Your Honor, we met like 5.5 years ago through a mutual friend. I would say that we were happy when we first got together, but then I started finding text messages, phone calls from other females. So at that point of the relationship, Your Honor, I no longer trusted him at all.
Well, I found messages in her phone too, same thing. So that's why I started doing the things I was doing.
This part is straight out of a soap opera. Miss Davies admits to a fling where protection wasn't always a priority, blaming Mr. Hunter's behavior. It's a tennis match of bad decisions, and the next serve is scorching hot. You won't believe what comes next.
After I see the text messages, the females calling my phone, then I decided that, okay, two can play that game, and I decided to go out and talk to someone else. Well, once I did, I briefly had a relationship with the guy. We were sexually together a few times.
Did you use
Why
protection?
she with me?
A couple times we did not, Your Honor.
And now, the twist. Miss Davies confesses she wasn't sure if Mr. Hunter was Jaden's dad, but decided to roll with it anyway. Her honesty raises eyebrows, and you can't help but wonder what else she's hiding. Trust me, the surprises keep coming.
I said, yes, I'm sure this is your son.
How were you sure?
She wasn't.
I couldn't say I was 100% sure at the time, but I wanted Devon to be the father because he has been there in my life for, at this time, we've been together like 2.5 years.
So now we're getting honest now, and that's what we're here to do. The truth is when you told him you wanted him to be, but you didn't know for certain.
Yes.
Here's where it gets jaw-dropping. Mr. Hunter recalls waking up to find Miss Davies hosting adult activities with others in her room. Her defense? She thought he had already left. If you think this is the peak of awkwardness, you're in for a shock.
I had been drinking, so I want to go lay down, right? I accidentally fall asleep longer than I'm supposed to, so she's thinking I'm gone. She brings another guy and another girl upstairs into the room while I'm in there.
That is true, Your Honor. I did let him come over just because he was drinking. He said he needs to sleep it off for a while. So I'm thinking he's gone. And so I did come with the guy and the girl to my house and my room.
Cue the tears and awkward confessions. Miss Davies cries as the judge reminds her she's admitted to most of the accusations. She tries to clear her name, but her evidence for Jaden's paternity is creative. Don't blink, the real truth is coming.
Why the tears?
Because this is hurtful to hear all these things he thought about me.
You can't be too hurt right now, because it's not the first time. I caught her in the kitchen. We sitting in the living room one day, and then she gets up and walks to the kitchen, and she's in the kitchen for like maybe 10, 15 minutes. She's supposed to came back already. I walk around to the kitchen, and she's damn near standing in between this guy's legs.
Here comes the hilarity. Miss Davies claims Jaden must be Mr. Hunter's because their feet point the same way. Yes, slew-footedness is her smoking gun. The judge struggles to keep a straight face as the drama barrels toward the truth.
Jaden and Mr. Hunter, they're both slew-footed, Your Honor. I don't know if you know what that means.
I do.
Which means that both of their feet goes out like this, and they stand just like that. He had to get that from Devon. Playing or trying to do something else. If it was another picture, when he stands, they stand just alike, Your Honor. Both of their feet are pointed outwards.
Boom! The DNA results drop.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Hunter, you are not father.
I told you.
Okay, imagine living your life one way, then boom, everything flips. Mr. Hudson thought he was the dad. He lived with Miss Bridges, went to appointments, cut the umbilical cord, and signed the birth certificate. Then Miss Bridges casually drops, "Oh, by the way, I slept with someone else," and chaos erupts. Things are about to get messier than a kindergarten art class.
Mr. Hudson, you claim the defendant led you to believe you were her son, Jacory's biological father, then dropped a bomb and admitted she slept with someone else. You're in court to prove you are not her son's father. Ms. Bridges, you admit to sleeping with another man, but claim that you have no doubt Mr. Hudson is your child's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Brace yourself. This part had everyone gasping. During an argument, Miss Bridges told Mr. Hudson he might not be the dad, but insisted he actually was. Despite doubts, Mr. Hudson stayed, throwing birthday parties and being a full-on dad. Then, out of nowhere, another guy appears claiming he might be the dad too.
It happened a little for his first birthday party. I invited everyone to come. She didn't even show to his first birthday party that I planned.
Because I was not going to show because you had your ex-girlfriend there and I did not feel comfortable there being with her. So I had my own birthday party for him.
You say Ms. Bridges didn't even come?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did the baby come? Did he get to come?
Yes, Your Honor. I had him there myself.
Enter Mr. Davis saying, "Hey, I might be the dad." He revealed he and Miss Bridges hooked up around the time Jack was conceived and only found out about the baby through Facebook a year later. Miss Bridges asked him to take a DNA test, and now things are looking like a reality show cliffhanger.
For several reasons, me and Miss Bridges met. We hung out for a couple of months. We ended up having unprotected sex around about 3 times. I didn't know that she was pregnant. I looked on Facebook one day, like a year later, I see a picture of her son. And immediately, I think her son looks like my nephew. About a year after that, she came to me. She's like, "Oh, well, can you tell me the times that we had sex?" And I'm like, okay. So I gave her a ballpark or whatever.
Just when it seemed impossible to get more chaotic, Miss Bridges' aunt weighs in. Auntie DeWaragus, who's been raising Jack, thinks the kid looks like Mr. Davis, but admits no one knows for sure. Meanwhile, Jack has bonded with Mr. Hudson, turning this into an emotional roller coaster. And then the guys start sharing their stories, making it even more intense.
I've been helping Oteria raise Jacory he's going on 4 years old. I have been in his life ever since. Mr. Davis has stepped up. He's constantly calling me, wanting to be in Jacory's life. Jacory has been ill, suffering with asthma. Mr. Davis did show up to the hospital. Yes, he showed up at the hospital.
This part hit everyone in the feels. Mr. Davis talks about missing 3 years of Jack's life, while Mr. Hudson shares how he's been pushed away. Both want to be there for Jack if they're the dad, and you're rooting for them both. Now it's time for the DNA results that will change everything.
I've missed 3 years of a child's life that could possibly be mine. Apologies can't take back 3 years of missed time.
I made mistakes and I learned from my mistakes. I was young back then.
So 2 men, both of whom want to be this child's father.
There would be no flack in between if I was allowed to. You have an opportunity. You don't know if he's yours or not, but you've been there already. Why just walk away from it?
Mr. Hudson, you are not his father.
Get ready, because this story starts with a bang. Miss Herman says Mr. Houston is Corey's dad, accusing him of living a double life. Mr. Houston denies it and says a DNA test will prove it's not true. Drama level high.
Miss Herman, you are here to prove that Mr. Houston is the biological father of your 2-year-old son, Corey. You contend the defendant duped you and was living a double life. Mr. Houston, you claim that you are not the biological father of Miss Herman's son and will clear your name when the results are read.
Miss Herman turns into a Facebook detective and finds out Mr. Houston has a whole family. She sees photos of him rocking a wedding ring while ghosting her during pregnancy. Let's just say Facebook doesn't miss when it comes to secrets.
I like to call this the investigadget stage. That's what I do. When my woman intuition hits, that's what I do. I investigate. So during the time I was pregnant, I had told Mr. Houston that I was pregnant. He said that he would be there for me and my child. After 2 doctor's appointments, he stopped showing up. So I got a little suspicious. So I got my investigation glasses on, and I found out via Facebook that he has a wife and children.
Mr. Houston's excuses are as weak as the dog ate my homework. He says his marriage isn't Miss Herman's business, even though they met at a club, hit it off over patron shots, and hooked up that night. Spoiler, no raincoat involved.
Anything I got going on before I met her wasn't her business. You see what I'm saying? I wasn't curious about the extra stuff. I was more curious about getting to know who she was.
So your marriage and your kids and your wife were all extra things?
No, it wasn't extra at all. It was just something that, I didn't communicate with her. I wasn't trying to go in a direction of being with her or...
At 2 a.m., Mr. Houston sneaks out to meet Miss Herman, who's rocking silky outfits and candles. He's basically describing a rom-com setting, except his wife's at home asleep. This is a double life disaster waiting to implode.
The night before I actually even thought that she was pregnant, I went to stay the night with her because, at this time, my kids were asleep, my wife was asleep too, all right? I was up. She answered the phone at 2 a.m. like I expected. She was ready. I wound up leaving, going over there in my car. I went to her house. She always got it laid out. She would have candles here, candles there. She would have it smelling good. And she always didn't have no clothes on. They hang tight on her butt.
Mrs. Houston drops the ultimate bombshell. She finds out about Miss Herman through a wild text. She even calls Miss Herman to confirm, and it's chaos. Imagine being pregnant and finding out your husband's baby drama this way.
The way I discovered, they were doing whatever was a message came in his phone. When I have the baby, I want to move in with you. I'm looking like, who the hell is this? And what is she talking about? And I'm like, so somebody is pregnant by you? I'm trying to get answers. Eventually, I end up calling the number and I talked to her.
Oh, you did? You had a conversation?
Yeah.
This argument is straight up ridiculous. Miss Herman says no condom was used, but Mr. Houston claims he's allergic to latex. It's like kids arguing over cookies, except the judge looks ready to ground everyone.
I don't like condoms, so I don't use condoms.
Exactly.
I'm allergic to latex, so I can use non-latex condoms.
Why do people keep saying they're allergic to latex but not allergic to sex? You're right. If you allergic to latex, then you don't need to be having no sex.
When he first brought out the condom, I said, is it a no-latex condom? He told me, no, it's latex. I said, I can't use that. I said, we better off not going to get a no-latex condom. I'll just do it anyway, but it wasn't your intent to get me pregnant.
Miss Herman says she's raising Corey alone, while Mr. Houston brags about buying baby booties. The judge isn't impressed, and neither is anyone else. It's clear this parenting situation is a hot mess.
He doesn't do anything for Corey at all.
This woman is full of lies today. I don't know why.
Can you show you a receipt?
I made sure that I had his first pair of shoes. I got him some booties. I did everything that I was supposed to do as far as making sure he had car seats.
I'm not, because he came to the baby shower and he dropped off 1 pack of diapers.
That's not true. I didn't even go to the baby shower. See?
I can't build a family with somebody that's already got a family.
The DNA test shows.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Houston, you are not the father.
Yes. Thank you, Jesus.
I was never able to buy 2 pair of Nikes, 2 cell phones, 2 this, 2 this,
You didn't buy anything.
Well, okay. So now I get punished because I'm not money worthy, to keep them happy. Keep them happy. I'm cooking them dinner every day. I'm making sure they come home and do their homework, but that's not good enough.
Now, granted, have I been with all 3 of these men? Yes. How do you know there's only these 3 men? Because I gave them these 3 men names. This is not true. Here it is. It's ugly. Now I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Exactly.
None of us would be here. None of us had multiple sex partners, bro. Let he who was without sin cast the first stone. How many sins you got, bro? We're here for hours.
Imagine finding out you might have a second dad after 30 years. Bananas, right? Ms. Miller drags Mr. White to court to prove he isn't her dad, while Mr. Wright waits in the hallway. Get ready. This is a real-life soap opera.
Ms. Miller, you've summoned the defendant, Mr. White. Prove to him that he is not your biological father, even though he has believed he's your father your entire life. The man you now say is your father is waiting in the hallway. Mr. White, it was only 2 weeks ago that your daughter revealed to you that you may not be her father. father.
Ms. Miller's mom once casually admitted, "I don't know who your dad is," and she's been juggling 2 dads ever since. Instead of choosing, Ms. Miller called both dad. Spoiler, this wasn't gonna stay secret forever.
I was raised around both men, but mainly around Mr. Wright. I spent most time with Mr. Wright. I used to go over to his house twice out the month, and I hardly spent any time with Mr. White. Up until the age of me being a teenager, I called both of them dad. My mom, her back was turned to me, and she said, "I don't know who your dad is."
2 weeks ago, Ms. Miller dropped the truth bomb on both dads. It took guts, considering neither had a clue about the other. Their reaction? Let's just say, it gets real awkward from here.
What happened 2 weeks ago?
Like I said before, I felt selfish because I didn't tell. I had to build up the nerve to actually call them. I addressed both of them. "Hey, Dad." Took a deep breath, and I was like, "I want you to prove that you're my dad." And I asked him again, I was like, I really want to know because I don't know. And then I said, my mom told me that she doesn't really know who my father is.
Mr. White isn't thrilled to find out there's another dad in the mix. He's like, "Excuse me, 30 years and now this?" He's mad, sad, and totally thrown off. But he's about to meet his competition.
Mr. White, Ms. Miller's 30 years old. You weren't aware all of these years that she was calling another man dad as well?
Nope, I don't even know who he is. When I got that phone call, I was wondering, where would you get this from out of 30 years? If she can find out that I'm not her father out of 30 years, somebody could have told me.
Growing up, Ms. Miller's mom made sure the dads never met. It was exhausting. One visit here, one there, and no mentioning either. As a kid, Ms. Miller just rolled with it, but secrets like this take their toll.
I go over here, I don't mention this dad. I go over there, I don't mention
And
this
you knew
dad.
that as a child?
Yes, it was unwritten. It's like a habit you pick up. Like once you see, I saw my mom talking to one, you were forbidden to say the other's name. So what I did as a child was just picked up on what I saw.
Father's Day must have been awkward with 2 dads. Ms. Miller spent more time with Mr. Wright and didn't even have Mr. White's number. Now she feels bad, but back then, she couldn't handle the drama.
Well, on Father's Day, I never really had Mr. White's number like that. I didn't call him all the time, and he never had my number. I do want to apologize to Mr. White because I knew exactly where he was for so long. I just kept telling myself, Mr. Wright is my father. I hid from it.
Yeah, Mr. Wright walks in looking like he's about to hear the plot twist of his life. He learns there's another dad, keeps his cool, for now. He's called Ms. Miller his girl since she was a baby.
You do realize at this point, Mr. Wright, that Mr. White, he is Ms. Miller's biological father.
I'm her father. I've been in her life for 30 years.
See, that's the thing. I feel like I've been living a double life because I don't even have social sites now. Because if I do family barbecues, which I spend a lot of time with Mr. Wright's side of the family.
This part is like that Spider-Man meme. Everyone's pointing and saying, "Wait, she looks like you." Photos come out, but Judge Lake says science will decide, as we all wait for the DNA reveal.
This is a photo of Ms. Miller
Yes, ma'am.
and your mother. You see the resemblance too, Ms.
Yes,
Miller.
Your
you
Honor,
do.
everything. I see it all.
When you look at that, Mr. White, do you see a resemblance?
Yeah, I do.
Because you said you also feel like you look like Mr. White.
Oh, wow, I never seen it side by side like that.
Both dads brace for the DNA results.
It has been determined by this court. Ms. Miller's biological father is Mr. White.
Buckle up, this story is already wild. Ms. Ames grew up thinking one guy was her dad, but another just showed up saying, "Nope, I'm the real one." Mr. Garcia wants a DNA test, while Mr. Patine says, "I paid $40,000 raising her, so hold up."
Mr. Garcia, you say you searched for your daughter for more than 25 years. You say the DNA results will prove to Mr. Patton that Ms. Ames is your daughter. You state that after raising your daughter and paying more than $40,000 in child support, you were informed that Mr. Garcia was claiming Ms. Ames is his daughter.
Facebook brings back old high school friends and surprise long-lost dads. Mr. Garcia found Ms. Ames online, and they met up, leaving her wondering if this was her real dad. But wait, there's more. We're about to dig into some family secrets.
A year ago, I was in Jersey visiting my family, and I was really looking for her on Facebook, wanting to find her so we can reconnect. Because I always called and always asked about her, and I was really looking for a heavy. We found each other on Facebook last year, and we met at my mother's house and reunited, and we started talking from there.
Ms. Ames didn't know she might have another dad until she was 21. Her mom never mentioned it before she passed, and a random relative just casually dropped the bomb later. She finally found Mr. Garcia after seeing his picture online and thinking, "Whoa, I totally look like this guy."
I needed some resolution to it. Take you back. My mother died when I was 13 years old. When I was 21 years old, another relative of mine decided to tell me, well, there's a possibility that your dad isn't your dad. that another man is your father. The name that they gave me, I searched for years. I couldn't find him.
When they met, it was emotional but awkward, kind of like a viral reunion video. They even visited her mom's grave together, which was both sweet and sad. Mr. Garcia stayed longer just to meet her daughter, and then things got even more intense.
There was an instant connection between the two of us. Instantly, we went out to my mother's graveyard because he didn't know anything of my mother passing because he was so far away. He was supposed to go back to Florida. He stayed an extra 2 weeks because he wanted to meet my daughter. I'm torn. I have 2 kids, and I want my kids to know who their grandparents are.
Plot twist. Mr. Patton isn't stepping aside easily. He's like, I was there since day one, rocked this kid to sleep, and paid $40,000 in child support. Even the judge was impressed, but Mr. Garcia is just getting started.
You feel like you're 100% certain you're her father.
Yes, I was there for her at birth. When she was born, I used to rock her to sleep in my knees. I stayed with her family, or I stayed with them for like 10 years, working and taking care of my responsibility, which was her.
You were responsible for child support for how many years?
18.
18 years you paid it.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia's determination is honestly impressive. He spent years searching for Ms. Ames, even before Facebook made it easy. His sister helped him track her down, and now Ms. Ames is opening up about how she feels about both dads.
Your Honor, before social media, when I would call New Jersey and talk to my family, I always trying to find her. So it's not just started. I always had that passion that she was my daughter, to know that for sure myself. Because I was in New Jersey and I wanted to find her while I was there before I went back to Florida. So I wanted to make sure we made a connection. And I was on Facebook heavy, trying to make connection with her.
Things are getting complicated. Ms. Ames feels like both men are her dad. She's building a bond with Mr. Garcia, but also appreciates everything Mr. Patine did for her. Plus, she's like, I need answers. I don't want my kids accidentally dating their cousins.
They're both my dad, but I'll work on building a relationship with Mr. Garcia because if he is my dad, we need that relationship. My kids need that relationship, but my kids will always know Mr. Patton as their grandpa as well. It's the way it'll be, period.
Ms. Ames isn't holding back. My parents should have sorted this 30 years ago. She wants answers for her kids' sake, and the judge totally agrees. But now, it's the big moment. The DNA results are in.
I feel like I'm torn in between because deep down inside, I need to know. I need the answers, and I can't speculate on what my parents did. This is something they should have figured out 30 years ago.
You are most certainly correct.
I can't say what they did and what they didn't do because I was a child.
The courtroom goes dead quiet as the results come in.
It has been determined by this court. Her biological father is Mr. Garcia.
Miss Curtis drags her mom, Miss Hall, to court because she's been lied to for 14 years about her dad. Turns out her mom let her believe some other guy was her dad, even though he wasn't. Oh, and there's a mystery dude outside who might be her real dad. This is already a mess.
Miss Curtis, you have brought your mother, Miss Hall, to court today because you say she hid the identity of your father from you for 14 years. There's a man waiting outside of the courtroom that your mother believes could be your biological father, yet you still have no idea that's the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Grandma spills the family secret when Miss Curtis was 14, revealing the guy she thought was her dad wasn't. Miss Curtis had to keep it quiet until her mom confessed. She always felt out of place, like she was adopted or something.
My grandmother, she sat me down and she said that she wanted to tell me the truth about who my father really is to be and that my mother has been lying to me for the past years of my life, which was 14 years old. And I said, okay. I felt that it was the truth because I always felt like I was adopted. My father, he really never really showed me the affection, the love at all.
Mom's story is like a teenage soap opera. She got pregnant at 15, thought the dad was some guy named Kirk, but then started seeing someone else. She admits she didn't know what was happening with her body. Like, she thought she wasn't pregnant because she got her period once. Total chaos.
I did not tell my daughter a young age about who her father was. Simply one, because I was a young girl. I was pregnant at the age of 15. I gave birth to her when I was 16 years old. Kirk lived pretty much like a fast lifestyle, which attract to him. And being young, I didn't even know that I was pregnant because I didn't know anything about the body.
You didn't know what it meant? You were just so young?
Yes.
Miss Curtis confronts her mom, asking why she waited until she was 16 to come clean. Miss Hall says she was focused on being a good mom. But Miss Curtis isn't buying it. She talks about missing moments like father-daughter dances, and she's clearly hurt.
I knew one day that I would have to sit up real down and talk to her and let her know who her father is. The time that I set forth for her was at the age of 16.
But what if something was supposed to happen to me in between the time?
I was the mother. I was the one who took care of you. To me, because I was the mother, I was the one that was supporting you, keeping a roof over your head, and making sure that you went to school and you got the education that you needed.
Miss Curtis hears about Mr. Whitaker from family gossip and writes to him in prison. Her mom didn't want to send the letter, but someone else did. Mr. Whitaker writes back, and his letter changes everything. The judge reads it, and it's a big deal.
The same night that me and my nana, we had the discussion and we found out where he was, then I started to write him letters and everything.
Where he was in prison. I wrote a letter to Kurt in the prison telling him the things that was going on. I was kind of nervous after I got to writing the letter, so I took the letter and I hid it at my mother's house.
Mr. Whitaker says he's ready to be the dad Miss Curtis deserves. Miss Hall looks awkward because this blows her plan. She's mad that things aren't on her terms. But come on, it's never perfect timing.
This is the first time she'll ever see the letter.
He does state he's willing to be the father she needs and deserves, and it's signed Kurt.
I know you may not understand how I feel about this right here. That's where I feel like I was deceived and crossed. I had my time that I had set aside to do the right thing.
She wants me to be like, I'm the bad person regardless.
Mr. Whitaker isn't sure he's the dad because Miss Hall was seeing someone else back then. Plus, he says he was living a fast lifestyle. Lots of money, lots of women, no clue what was happening. His doubts are understandable, but Miss Curtis is frustrated.
I'm actually somewhat doubtful, and having said that is because the way the situation went down. When Tamika initially told me, hey, I'm pregnant, you're the father. But as I remember, she was also in a relationship with someone else. That was actually convenient for me, being that I was with somebody. I'll take my part, hey.
Miss Curtis says Mr. Whitaker let her down after all his promises while he was in prison. When he got out, he spent time with her mom instead of her. She feels abandoned, and now it's all leading up to the DNA results.
He wanted to know little things about me so he can get to know me through the letters. Promised me when he come home, he'll do things for me that he's never done. When he got home, he didn't do none of that, and he still haven't done none of that. I was trying to help him get out of the halfway house so he can come home and spend time with me. He want to break everything that he said, spend less time with me so he can be with her.
Mr. Whitaker points out Miss Curtis was given another guy's last name, which confuses him. Why not my name if I'm the dad? Fair point, but the DNA test is about to end this mystery.
Do you believe this is your daughter?
I believe it could be my daughter. How can I say when she was messing with other men and you give someone else another man's name?
I think it's time we have the results.
The judge reads the DNA results.
When it comes to 22-year-old Abrell Curtis, Mr. Whitaker, you are her father.
The Eggleston twins are here because their dad just dropped a bombshell. He's not their biological father. He claims he's doing this for financial reasons, and the sisters aren't buying it. Buckle up, because the drama is just getting started.
You and your identical twin sister state that the man who raised you recently shocked you when he announced that he is not your biological father. You've petitioned the court for a paternity test because you believe finances are motivating your alleged father's claims. Your statement to the court counters that you know for sure the plaintiff's father is a white man and you are not.
Mr. Eggleston admits he always doubted he was their dad because of some shady stuff their mom did. But he chose to raise them anyway, kinda. His story is confusing, but hang tight. It's only going to get weirder.
Knowing from the start, I knew they wasn't mine, but something overcame me that...
You knew their mother?
Yes, I did. I was coming home one day and she was in the backyard barbecuing, and I noticed this big, beautiful smile, big breasts. And
notice those, huh?
Yeah, and the big cheeseburgers on the grill.
The twins say Mr. Eggleston didn't really act like a dad. No new shoes, no structure, no allowance. After their mom died, they think he only took them in for money. It's rough, and you can't help but wonder if anyone's okay.
I was never able to buy 2 pair of Nikes, 2 cell phones, 2 this, 2 this,
You didn't buy anything.
Okay. So now I get punished because I'm not money worthy, to keep them happy. If I cherish them with money, it'd be a whole new different ballgame. Cooking them dinner every day. I'm making sure they come home, do their homework, but that's not good enough.
A cousin shows up, claiming their mom had a sugar daddy, a white guy who might be the twins' real dad. It's just more chaos on top of chaos. And at this point, you're wondering if there's any end to this drama.
But he's talking about a white man that actually, I don't know how to word it, but I want to say he was like her job. car. He didn't care if she was pregnant. He would have sent her money just because that's what they do. That was his purpose of being there. She didn't just call once. He sent money often. Before she got pregnant, he was sending money.
The twins share how Mr. Eggleston's doubts made them feel like he didn't belong. They even found his secret journal about not knowing if he was their dad, but deciding to stick around. It's a mix of laughter and tears, and things are getting heavy.
We found a journal of his, and basically, I understand that this is something that he been fighting with himself, and it's starting to hit him. So it's like,
so then that makes us figure, okay, then now we understand why you treated us like we was always
it's something that he hid from. You know, he was in detail saying they came out and I seen them. Felt something came over my body saying, I'm gonna be in these kids' life. They're gonna need me one day.
The judge reads the DNA results, and guess what?
When it comes to whether Mr. Rodney Eggleston is the father of Antonia and Rodnea Eggleston, Mr. Eggleston, you are their father.
This starts like a soap opera on fast forward. Mr. Rich is mad, yelling about lies, and Ms. Holman is trying to defend herself while Judge Lake tries to keep order. It's already super dramatic, but trust me, this is just the warm-up.
Mr. Rich,
Go back up.
you came here to get an answer.
I have not called him lately.
I don't care, man. That was a nice speech, but that's all it was, a speech. Stop. If Leanne could have had it her way, and now one of us know.
At the end of the day, you a liar. I've been telling you this since I was pregnant. I've been telling you I need a DNA test since I was pregnant.
Judge Lake talks to Ms. Holman like a tough but caring aunt, calling out her mistakes while reminding her she can do better. The vibe gets serious fast, and you can tell Ms. Holman is feeling it. But don't get too relaxed. Things are about to get messy again.
You've admitted to where you've gone wrong, and you've also allowed us to see a little piece of what your real heart is. You think we don't know you are confused and just out there riding on a wing and a prayer? I'm here with you and for you.
Just when it seems like things might calm down, Ms. Holman drops the bomb that there are other possible dads. Mr. Matthews enters, and it's like a reality show reunion with side-eye galore. If one dad wasn't enough drama, now we've got a whole crew.
Can you tell me about these other possible fathers?
Well, just like with Mr. Rich, I told him I didn't remember whether we were together around the time of September, which was around his birthday time. Mr. Matthews is the same thing. The only difference with this is Mr. Rich knew about him. Mr. Rich did not know about Matthews.
Mr. Matthews shows up cool and admits he could be the dad, casually mentioning he went to doctor appointments with Ms. Holman. This makes the other guys mad. It's got "I was there for her" vibes, but Mr. Matthews seems unsure himself. The drama is real, and it's only getting juicier.
You've had an ongoing sexual relationship with Ms. Holman for the past 4 years?
Yes, ma'am. And I was taking her to a couple of her doctor's appointment for the baby.
Do you want to be her biological father?
I mean, if I am, I'll accept it as my own, because I don't think our friendship will never end.
So you also are in love with Ms. Holman?
To a certain extent, yeah.
Ms. Holman admits she was with all three guys, and it's awkward but honest. Judge Lake appreciates her honesty, but you can see the guys are furious. The tension is thick, but you know the real bombshell is coming with the DNA results.
Now, granted, have I been with all three of these men? Yes. How do you know there's only these three men? Because I gave them these three men names. This is my truth. Here it is. It's ugly. Now I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Exactly.
None of them would be here if you were sure.
None of us would be here. None of us had multiple sex partners, bro. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. How many sins you got, bro? We're here for hours.
Judge Lake gives Ms. Holman a pep talk, telling her she's still worth it, despite her mistakes. It's wholesome and a bit like a motivational video. Then you remember, the DNA results are next, and it's about to get intense.
Every day we wake up and we have to remind ourselves, you worth it. I slept with this guy on Thursday, you still worth it. I slept with this guy on Friday, you still worth it. I came up short over here, you're still worth it. You hear me?
Finally, the DNA answers come.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Drumgold, you are the father.
Exactly.
This is straight up bananas. Imagine finding out at 10 years old that your dad isn't actually your dad. That's exactly what happened to Ms. Manship, who then spent 20 years trying to track down her real father.
Ms. Manship, at the age of 10, you were shocked and devastated to learn that your dad was not your biological father. That began your 20-year search to find the man your mother claims is your father. After your exhaustive search, find him, you came up with nothing.
Can you even imagine looking for someone with nothing but a name and one old photo? That's exactly what Ms. Manship did after her mom told her who her real dad was, armed with just that tiny bit of info.
She sat me down. She had one picture. This is the one picture that she gave me that I've had for the past 20 years. I just look at it. She says, this is who your father is. He was the only other person I was with. He's the only one that it could be. We had a place where we hung out when we were younger, and I would stop a police officer and I'd say, how do you go about searching for somebody?
She hit up old school Yahoo chat rooms. Yep, back in the day, people searches, and even asked random people in Arkansas if they knew her dad. She was basically a one-woman detective agency, but with zero luck, making you wonder if this mystery would ever get solved.
I would go do people searches online. Back whenever they had like the Yahoo chat rooms, the state that she told me he was from, which was Little Rock, Arkansas, I would go in there and I'd mention his name, say, does anybody know this man? I believe he is my father, and nobody ever had any information they could give me. We even went back to where
all
they
you
met.
had to go on was this photo you
the
had
one picture and the one name.
Imagine sitting down one day and boom, someone tells you might have a kid you didn't even know about. Mind-blowing, right? That's what happened to Mr. Lau, who admitted he'd never heard of Ms. Manship until the court contacted him. The dude was totally blindsided and emotions were flying all over the place.
When is the first time you heard about her?
When the court contacted me just recently.
You never knew she existed.
No, Your Honor.
But you did have a relationship with Ms. Lutman.
Yes, Your Honor.
You remember that. This you in this photo.
Yes, Your Honor.
So we know we at least have the right Mr. Lau.
Ms. Manship tells him how hard she looked for him for decades. And honestly, you'd need tissues for this moment. You can't help but feel the suspense as everyone's bracing for how this roller coaster will end.
Since my early teens, I've searched everywhere. I've searched online, I've asked people, and I've never had a response from anybody in the past 20 years. Nobody has ever given me even a single detail of where he's from or where he lives, if he has any family. I don't know anything.
And you've never gotten one lead?
Not one.
Talk about drama. Turns out there was a wild love triangle back in the day, with jealous exes and even some property damage. Mr. Laup shares how he dated. Ms. Lutman moved in with her and had to deal with her angry ex-boyfriend burning his clothes in a fireplace.
Shortly after that, maybe after a couple of months, we had rented an apartment.
Were you boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes, Your Honor. And I believe she had she had told me she had 3 kids and that she was about 12 years older than I was, about her ex-boyfriend not being happy about it. We kept it amicable, and then at one point in time, I'm not sure how it happened, but he had burned all my clothes up in the fireplace.
Really?
Ms. Lutman then explains how she got back together with her ex, thought he was the baby's father, and basically just went along with it for years. It's messy, it's dramatic, and you can't look away as you wait to see if this chaos leads to the truth.
Me and my ex got back together. About a month later, I started getting symptoms of getting pregnant. And I was with my ex, so I figured it was my ex's baby. So we just continued all the way up until I had her.
When you found out you were pregnant, you thought it was your ex's child?
I just figured it was my ex's because of being a month later, and being with him.
Okay, this guy thought he couldn't even have kids. He literally said he was shooting blanks. Mr. Laup explains how he's been married multiple times, never had kids, and didn't think he could possibly be anyone's dad.
Did you initially believe this could be your daughter?
I didn't believe it. I figured it probably was a mistake, mainly because the fact that she knew quite a few people. She had a lot of male friends and been married 4 times. First marriage was 12 years and I didn't have any children. Second marriage was 2 years, still no children.
Meanwhile, Ms. Manship gets emotional, sharing how she believed so strongly that he was her dad that she even named her son after him. At this point, the suspense is through the roof, and you can practically hear everyone holding their breath for what's next.
I'm just hoping that everything I've been told is true, because if it is, I'm the only one out there he has. So I've believed that he's been my father so long that I actually named my youngest son after him.
You did?
I did.
This is the moment everyone's been waiting for. Drum roll, please.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lau, you are the father.
During the time, she already told me, Your Honor, that she was having sex with another guy.
A month before you and a month after you, sir.
During the time we were having sex, she had already told me this.
So I'm in the shower one day. I know everything that goes on in my house, so it's just a CD that I see that's out of place. I'm like, I didn't put this in here.
She was like, well, I'm single, but I'm having sex with this dude also. And plus, he was staying the night at her apartment.
I look up their Instagram. So I'm scrolling, and I see somebody holding my daughter. With it.
What?
Ms. Reeves walks in like, this guy won't admit he's the father of my kid. Silva's like, nope, not mine. Drama's already spicy, and you know this will be a roller coaster.
Ms. Reeves, you are here today to prove that the defendant, Mr. Silva, is the biological father of your 7-month-old son, Legend. Mr. Silva, you were involved in a paternity case on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta in support of your sister, who took a DNA test to prove paternity of her child.
Mr. Silva thinks it's okay for guys to cheat because they're guys, but women can't. Judge Lake isn't buying it, and the audience is cracking up. She calls him out, and it's about to get wild.
I just don't trust her, Your Honor. I feel like she's tricking me into believing that I'm Legend's father. I grew up loving women, loving sex.
You grew up loving sex?
I always felt like it was okay for men to go out, have sex, and especially with a baby, you know, trying to say that I'm his father. You know, I just want to.
All of this started, all he wanted to do was cheat on me. I've been nothing but faithful to him since I first met him.
Silva admits to cheating and assumes Ms. Reeves does too. Judge Lake's like, really? You think everyone's shady like you? The audience cheers, and Silva's starting to sweat. It's not looking good for him.
Why can't you conquer your doubt and conquer your fear that she's also doing something that she says she's not doing?
Well, Your Honor, I feel like if I'm out here, you know, doing what I'm doing whatever she's doing, she's possibly doing the same thing.
And why would that be so wrong? Because you can't take what you dish out? I'm trying to understand.
Ms. Reeves says Silva accuses her of cheating because he's cheating. He caught her texting her ex, but she's like, it was just a high. Trust issues are everywhere. And they dig into the messy pregnancy drama next.
Well, we was broken up at the time. Immediately, as soon as I told him that I was pregnant, he was like, okay, with who?
We were broken up for 4 weeks, Your Honor. I caught her texting her ex.
When you
I confronted her
with
about texting her ex. No, this ain't, I caught them texting multiple times. She claims they're just friends. I had it. One day, I just decided to try to go on her phone, and she changed her password on me.
Silva says they were broken up when she got pregnant, so he's doubting it. He showed up at the birth and signed the certificate because her family was staring him down. He felt pressured, but things are about to get even messier.
In the hospital, none but her family was there. I was by myself. You know, I came in. As soon as Legend was born, the doctor came in the room, straight to me and gave me the paper. I didn't want to make her look bad, so
so you signed the birth certificate?
Yes, I felt pressure to sign this.
And if you start talking about DNA test and not signing birth certificate, it sheds a negative light on her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Silva says the baby looks like her ex. Ms. Reeves fires back with proof that he was messaging other women. Silva admits he was grimy. The courtroom's buzzing, and there's a lot of baggage here, with DNA results on the way.
Like, well, I have proof right here. A girl, she messaged me basically saying that, you know, they was talking. He was her boyfriend as well. He didn't know me. I'm just
So you got a message out of the blue from another woman. And it says, he told me you were his ex and that you were pregnant, but you're and didn't know who the dad was.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reeves gets emotional, saying she wants their son to feel loved. Silva, still unsure, says he doesn't want to raise another man's kid. It's tense, and you can feel the weight of their struggles. The results are next.
I just feel a little hurt, you know what I mean? Because, like, we have a beautiful baby together, and I don't want him to grow up feeling like, oh, my daddy didn't even think that I was his. You know, we were just being irresponsible. I want him to love me the way that I love my child. I want him to grow up the same way that I grew up, both of his parents in his life.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Silva, you are the father.
Mr. Walker's here to prove he's Kai Manny's dad after being told he's not, even though he's on the birth certificate. Ms. DeVos regrets letting him sign it and insists he's not the dad. Emotions are high, and the drama's just starting.
Mr. Walker, you claim the defendant led you to believe you fathered her son, Kamani, for an entire year, but just 6 months ago told you you are not father and refuses to let you see him. You are here to prove that Kamani is your biological son.
Mr. Walker was there for the pregnancy and birth, confident Kai Manny is his son. Ms. DeVos doesn't blink while saying he's not. Ouch. You can't help but feel for Mr. Walker, and the judge is about to ask some big questions.
But Mr. Walker, you are certain this is your biological child?
Yes, Your Honor, this is my son right here.
And then for the past 6 months, you have not seen him?
I haven't been allowed to see my son the last 6 months because Miss DeVos claims that I am not the father.
But you're on the birth certificate.
I was there the whole time, the whole pregnancy, and there at the hospital.
They met in foster care and had a kind of relationship. They got close, things happened, and now we're here. But trust me, this isn't the juiciest part of their story.
We met when we was in foster care. We was like this group home setting to live on their own independently. We met there, we became friends. When I went away to school, we had lost touch or whatever. And then I came back, somehow we got back in contact. I was like over his house every day. It was like a getaway. We wasn't in a relationship, but a situation like we was together.
Mr. Walker was thrilled at the pregnancy, and she said it was his, until she later mentioned seeing someone else too. The judge's questions are about to get very awkward.
When she first told me she was pregnant, I was excited. I asked her if it was mine. She said, yeah, you're the father.
Ms. DeVos, do you remember that conversation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you tell Mr. Walker he was your child's biological father?
Yes, but at the time, I thought he was the father. He was the one I was with.
Ms. DeVos admits she hid the other guy because she was scared, didn't want to be alone. Mr. Walker stepped up, even working 2 jobs. It's messy and emotional, but something explosive is definitely coming.
I was scared. Being a first-time mother, I went through the system too, and I just never wanted to tell him that it wasn't his because I knew the situation he'd been through, and I didn't want to go through it alone. When he stepped up to being here, got 2 jobs, and I couldn't work when I was pregnant because he was a big baby.
Ms. DeVos chose Mr. Walker as dad because he was there, not the other guy. It wasn't about love, it was convenience. The judge looks ready to dive deeper, and you know it's about to get intense.
Why did you make the choice of Mr. Walker?
My ex was in another city. He was in the same city as me. So if he's here, he's the father.
When you say you didn't want to do this alone, so you just chose the man that was closest to you, was ready to step up, so you would have someone to go through this process with.
Text messages show Ms. DeVos telling Mr. Walker he's not Kaimani's dad via text. Mr. Walker says he's staying as long as he's on the birth certificate. The judge calls her out, and it's about to get even messier.
So it says, you say you kicked me out with damn near no place to go. You wasn't thinking about our son or anything. He's not your son. So as long as I'm on the birth certificate, I'm not going anywhere. You ruined my whole life. You're not his father. You ruined your own life. You cold-blooded.
Kaimani calls the other guy Daddy on video calls, which hits Mr. Walker hard. The judge highlights how complicated this is for Kaimani. Everyone's waiting for the DNA results, and the tension is real.
Kaimani is 14 months old now. When he sees your ex, he refers to him as Daddy?
Yes.
Did you know that, Mr. Walker?
No, I didn't, but around the time that I left the house, he was already getting ready to start saying Dada to me, so I don't know.
No, he wasn't.
The DNA results reveal
it has been determined by this court. Mr. Walker, you are not the father.
I'm sorry.
Judge Lake kicks off a paternity showdown over 3-year-old Samarai. Ms. Lusk says Desmond is the dad, but his mom says, no way. And apparently Desmond was seeing someone else, making this a total soap opera.
Ms. Lusk, you and your mother say you have no doubt whatsoever when it comes to knowing who your 3-year-old daughter, Samari's biological father, the man you claim is her father, has died, and now you find yourself facing off against his mother, who is just as convinced that she is not your daughter. Grandmother.
Ms. Lusk talks about raising her daughter alone after getting pregnant at 16. She's upset because Ms. Page has shut her daughter out. The frustration is real, and you can tell things are just getting started.
Extremely difficult being pregnant at 16, having to still go through school. These past 4 years, everything has been on me and my mother. He has a whole other side. My daughter is beautiful, and you missed out on 4 years.
Everybody's
not only
a
me.
Single parent. You're
not
absolutely
the only
correct,
but you
raised Desmond
by yourself.
Ms. Page says Ms. Lusk only wants a $50,000 insurance payout left by Desmond. Ms. Lusk looks shocked, saying she didn't know about the money. The back and forth feels like an intense ping pong match.
They're out for money. I had insurance on my son. I had an insurance policy. They're out for
that
money.
we knew nothing about.
Unless it's proven it's not my son's
You
baby.
never posted it on Facebook.
And so this insurance policy is in the amount of $5,000. It is your testimony today. Ms. Lusk is attempting to get a portion of that money.
Yes.
Ms. Lusk says she and Desmond were sneaking around during her school breaks. Ms. Page isn't buying it at all. It's a fight over who knows him better, but there's a kid involved, making it a big deal.
It was a normal time, scheduled routine that I would actually come over there because we had times that I would come over to see him because he only stayed a few blocks from my school. Whether it was gym or my lunch period, I would go.
When was the first time you physically saw me? When you proclaimed you were pregnant, you was very petite, no stomach, looking like an innocent child.
Yes, you asked to see my child. You asked to go to the school. Of course she wasn't showing.
Ms. Anderson, Ms. Lusk's mom, told Ms. Page about the pregnancy on Facebook. Ms. Page brushes it off, calling her son a legend with women. Meanwhile, Judge Lake tries to stop it from becoming a shouting match.
I
Do you know what happened?
contacted Miss Page through Facebook to tell her to call me. And that's when I broke the news to her about my daughter being pregnant by her son. The very first thing she said to me is, my son is a legend. My son has women coming out the woodwork. She seemed proud. Her son had no reason to be doing whatever he was doing in his past.
Ms. Page says she's only seen Samarai once at a birthday party. She held her for a second, but hasn't connected since. Ms. Lusk says Ms. Page doesn't even try, making things even messier.
I seen her one time by accident at an acquaintance birthday party.
She had the opportunity, yes ma'am.
Yes, Miss Lusk, I held her and I got a picture taken.
You had a
to
few.
see. Did she
You had
even
a few.
favor the family?
You posted it on Facebook.
To be honest, I don't
This
want
is my
Tamara
first time
around
seeing
him.
you, Miss Anderson.
Yes, it is, and my first time and hopefully last seeing you.
Judge Lake explains how both women are still grieving Desmond, making everything harder. She also calls them out for airing drama on social media. It's a needed reality check, but the courtroom is still chaotic.
Miss Page is grieving. She doesn't even have a person to review these facts with. Desmond, I need to talk to you about this, and this, so I can get an understanding. Much of this animosity, ma'am, and I hope I'm not speaking, but much of this pain and animosity that is coming out in your testimony is because you do feel like you have a situation before you.
Ms. Lusk says she found out she was pregnant days after Desmond died. She couldn't go to his funeral because she felt out of place. Her tears make even Ms. Page show some vulnerability.
I believe 4 days after his passing, that's when I took my own pregnancy test and found out I was pregnant. That was April 24th. His funeral was April 27th. I didn't go to his funeral. Like, how can I even go? I can't even support somebody.
I didn't have time to grieve. I didn't have time to grieve. The day after my son's first daughter was born, I understand.
Judge Lake reads the DNA results.
It has been determined by this court. The probability of relatedness between Miss Page and Samari Page is 99.96%.
This case starts off wild, like a spaghetti-covered kid. It's Johnson vs. Kirby. Mr. Johnson says, "Not my kid," while Ms. Kirby insists he is. She says Caden needs his dad. Mr. Johnson's dodging responsibility. Buckle up, it's about to get messier.
Mr. Johnson, you are here to prove you are not the biological father of Miss Kirby's 11-month-old son, Caden. You claim her accusations are causing trouble in your relationship, and you are certain the results will clear your name.
This is like arguing over spilled milk, except the milk is a baby. Johnson says Kirby's ruining his life by claiming he's the dad. She insists they planned Caden, and now Johnson's ghosting. He stays firm, denying it's his kid. Things are about to escalate.
She's trying to pin a child on me that ain't mine, and she's causing problems in my current relationship.
How am I causing issues in your current relationship when you just called to me yesterday? So what are you talking about, sir?
I'm not trying to keep up with you. I just wanted to know, is this really happening?
So you think she's trying to pin a baby on you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Johnson drops a sad bombshell. His dad abandoned him. He claims he'd never leave a kid unless it's not his. Kirby says he's doing exactly that to Caden. Johnson repeats, "That baby ain't mine." And next, it's all about who looks like who.
Mr. Johnson, did you grow up with a father in your life?
No, Your Honor. I was premature. I was in the hospital for 6 months. While I was in the hospital,
my baby have issues.
my father abandoned me.
Now you
and
abandoned
my
Caden.
mother. I would never do a child like that I know that's mine, and this baby is not mine.
And so you're saying you know what it feels like to be abandoned?
Yes, Your Honor.
They met during a blackout, went shopping, exchanged numbers, then boom, sex. Kirby says she liked him, but Johnson says it was just a fling. Their stories clash and the judge tries not to laugh. But there's more drama when they reveal who else was around.
We was working at this job, and then we had a blackout. During the blackout, we decided to go to the store. We in my car, driving to the store. Charmaine started talking sexual.
Why would I talk sexual to you when I'm dealing with someone?
Wait, what was she saying?
Here's where it gets messy. Johnson says Kirby told him she was seeing someone else too. She admits it, but claims Johnson is the dad. Johnson's like, "I'm 1 out of 3? It's like bad reality TV, and conception dates are next.
During the time, she already told me, Your Honor, that she was having sex with another guy.
A month before you and a month after you, sir.
During the time we were having sex, she had already told me this. She was like, "Well, I'm single, but I'm having sex with this dude also." And plus, he was staying the night at her apartment.
Johnson finds out on Facebook he might be a dad. He messages Kirby, and at first she says no, then switches to yes. Johnson's confused and says she's playing games. Things are about to get even weirder.
I was at this party, and I was scrolling on social media, and I seen her post something about she don't need help with her child. So I hit her up. I was like, "Are you pregnant?" She was like, "Yeah." "Is the baby mine?" She was like, "No." So I left the party and went to her house. And then she flipped the script and was saying, "Well, yes, you are the father."
Kirby says she did the math and conceived around when she slept with Johnson. He doubts it, since others were involved. The judge sighs as she explains again. It's confusing, and there's more with the baby's health coming up.
Because I did the calculations, we had since July 10th, and this the amount of time that I could see Caden.
But I thought you slept with him within a 24-hour window of meeting him, and you also were in a sexual relationship with the other man.
Me and him had sex July 10th on our way when we got back from Clarksville.
Herbie explains Caden has health issues, like needing a G-tube. She says Johnson hasn't helped at all, while he says she didn't give him a chance. The arguments are non-stop. Soon an expert will shed light on Caden's condition.
My baby has health issues. He has a G-tube, so we back and forth from different doctors, ENT, G-tube clinic, all that. And he's also albino.
I didn't even know that this child was albino, and plus, no one's in my family albino. Has no trait of it.
Expert explains albinism happens when both parents carry a hidden gene. Despite the clear explanation, Johnson shakes his head in disbelief. Herbie looks hopeful, but spoiler alert, he's not convinced until the DNA says otherwise.
So albinism is a very rare disease. Less than 1 in 20,000 children have it, and it is the absence of pigment, both in the hair, skin, and sometimes eyes.
How does it get passed down to a child? Is it
each parent, even though they look phenotypically or to the eyes normally pigmented, carry an abnormal gene?
The big moment.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are the father.
Ms. Ferguson brings her mom, Ms. Munsell, to court after finding out her dad, Ken Ferguson, might not actually be her dad. Apparently, mom was seeing multiple guys when Ms. Ferguson was conceived, and now a paternity test is the only way to know. Buckle up, this family drama is just getting started.
Miss Ferguson, you've brought your mother to court today because you were recently shocked to learn that Ken Ferguson, who raised you your entire life, you have petitioned the court for a paternity test on Mr. Ferguson, whom we'll hear from in a moment. You acknowledge that you finally confessed to your daughter that you slept with more than one man at the time of her conception.
Ms. Ferguson explains how her mom treated her like background noise while spending time with friends and boyfriends. It all got worse when Ms. Ferguson discovered her mom's cheating. And it's not over. Wait till you hear about the stepdad's role in all this.
My mom goes through crazy moments and acts like her family never is there, acts like her 2 daughters are never the only ones that just want her attention and to her and be there for her. So she was treating us like crap. She was acting like we never are there for her. She went, not even the husband, so we all felt lean on when she actually didn't have anyone else around her.
Judge Lake steps in, trying to bring some sense to this chaos. She points out the pain Ms. Ferguson feels and urges Ms. Munsell to think about her daughter's feelings. It's a rare moment of calm, but let's see if anyone takes it to heart.
Do you think as a parent, as a mother, it's more difficult for you to endure maybe this moment? Or would it be more difficult to stand there as a young woman who your father is? You don't know who he is.
Do you understand why I think he could not be my father?
Ms. Ferguson shares how her stepdad revealed that Ken Ferguson might not be her real dad. She's not even surprised after all her mom's affairs. It's like a soap opera, and things are about to get even messier when Ken speaks up.
We were talking for about 4 hours, and when he told me, I became quiet because it hit me with realization like, wow, seeing her sleep with so many guys, that this doesn't shock me at all. The night he told me, I went my pictures around and was just trying to look at every little figure that we could have alike. I see cheekbones, other things too.
Ms. Munsell tries to apologize, but ends up making excuses, leaving Ms. Ferguson rolling her eyes. It's awkward, like trying to fix a broken vase with tape. The years of hurt are too much for a quick apology.
I came here for you to do this. And that's what you're gonna do, is you're gonna drag it all out. When you stood there and you told me all it was to find out about your dad. I'm not a perfect mom. I never tried to be. I never, I did what I could do. But I love you, and I never once regretted having you.
The big reveal.
When it comes to Alicia Ferguson, Mr. Ferguson, you are her father.
The court starts, and Mr. Smith shares why he's here to prove he's the dad of his 4-year-old daughter, Cookie. He's already on the birth certificate and has been calling himself daddy since day one.
Mr. Smith, you have brought your estranged wife to court to prove that you are the biological father of her 4-year-old daughter, Christina Cookie Smith. You signed the birth certificate and have been daddy since she was born, and claim you are her father.
Mrs. Smith drops a bomb and says, well, actually, Cookie might belong to someone else, which makes the audience gasp louder than a crowd watching fireworks. This messy case is just warming up, and things are about to get even juicier.
Mrs. Smith, you admit that you allowed your husband to sign the birth certificate and initially believed he was Cookie's father, but as your your daughter got older, she no longer looked like him. And now you believe another man is her dad.
Mr. Smith finds his wife's old phone, flips through it, and boom, text messages and photos that make his head spin. It's not just, hey, how are you? Messages. These are I miss you texts, plus some nude pics.
We actually end up getting new phones around that time.
Okay.
So it's just like the other phones were kind of lingering around. So I'm just casually just going through them. And I saw text messages, some photos between my wife and some other cat. I miss you. When you miss a person, apparently you've seen them before. Nude photos.
Oh!
You know what I mean?
He packs his bags, calls his mom, because of course you go to mom in times like this, and moves out. You won't believe what happens next. Just wait. It's about to get even crazier.
So what happened, Mr. Smith, when you see these text messages?
I basically, I let my parents know what was going on, and I packed up and I left. I had to, just to, because she's my support. She helps me on everything. You know what I mean?
Mrs. Smith announces she's pregnant and uses it as a chance to patch things up. Mr. Smith, feeling all kinds of love, jumps back in, ready to be the best husband and dad ever.
When I found out I was pregnant, we were very excited. I told Christian we weren't together. I thought that this could be a chance for us to reconnect and make our marriage work. He agreed, and shortly after we got back together.
Mr. Smith, when you found out she was pregnant, were you happy about it?
Extremely happy. I didn't know what love was until I met this person.
He's there for the birth, signing the certificate, and watching Cookie enter the world with all the pride of a guy who thinks he's got it all figured out. But oh boy, little does he know, this happy moment is just the calm before another storm.
Were you there at the hospital when she was born?
I made priority number one. It was a cesarean section. Made sure was, since I couldn't cut the cord, I asked the doctor, can I lean over, can I see, because you can only see that one time. So now, when Cookie is 18, 21, 40, I can tell her
that I
saw you come into this earth. First time you just...
While showering one day, Mr. Smith notices something weird, a random CD sitting where it doesn't belong. Turns out it's got some guy's number on it, and curiosity sends him down the rabbit hole.
So I'm in the shower one day. I know everything that goes on in my house, so it's just a CD that I see that's out of place. I'm like, I didn't put this in here. That number, it's just something about that number. I ain't forget about that number. And then I saw an Instagram name, so I immediately I look up their Instagram. So I'm scrolling, and I see somebody holding my daughter. With it.
What?
After a little Instagram snooping, he finds a photo of this mystery dude cheesing with Cookie, looking like he's auditioning for Proud Dad of the Year. Mrs. Smith finally admits she hooked up with this guy, Joseph, and things get super awkward.
With a cheese on their face, like it's all happy and everything. It did have a caption, but I not for word verbatim, but it was something in the line of him claiming her, though. It was that.
This is the photo you saw on Instagram?
Honestly, though, I don't like looking at that at all.
You can't even look at it.
No.
Joseph says he met Mrs. Smith when she was separated and had no idea she was married. He's all like, we hit it off. I didn't know about her husband. And oh yeah, I met Cookie when she was 2.
I seen her walking down the sidewalk, and I actually ran behind her, and we exchanged numbers. We talked on the phone for a little bit.
Did she tell you she was married?
No, ma'am. I had no clue.
So when did you find out about the baby?
I don't know a time verbatim, but the first time that I've seen Cookie in person was she was 2 years old. You know what? I don't even remember verbatim. I don't.
He describes meeting Cookie and feeling like she already knew him, which gives him that, maybe I'm her dad vibe. But wait, Joseph isn't the only guy calling himself dad, and the situation just keeps getting messier.
When I seen her, she looks just like my dad. She looks just like us, so, I never really doubted it. You understand what I'm saying? I always thought that, this is my child.
You find out, you accept it, you've got this little girl. Do you make plans to stay in her life?
Yes, ma'am, I did, but at the same time, I wasn't in a position to a structure of a good parent.
Mr. Smith and Joseph both want to be in Cookie's life, and they're both like, she's my baby. Mrs. Smith finally admits she's been keeping secrets, and everyone's trying to figure out what's going on.
You still were allowing Mr. Prater to see her behind your husband's back.
I didn't even know any of that.
And Mr. Prater, you did not know about Mr. Smith.
Couldn't find the right time to say anything about it.
When you have issues like this, the right time is the soonest time available.
The judge opens the results, and bam.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Prater. I'm sorry.
When I was 7 months pregnant, out to here, and he said, you are not pregnant, it's all in your head. If you are pregnant, it is not mine. My last name, and do not put me on the birth certificate, is exactly what it said.
Saying I'm not her father because while in the Coast Guard, just before she informed me that she was pregnant.
And you've got 3 kids after that, Mr. McBain. How are you
I
sterile?
have 3 kids after that. It was due to stress. I was under a great deal of
you were under stress with other
women.
This one kicks off like a soap opera. Ms. Chmielewski claims her late boyfriend, Georgie, is the father of her son, Xavier, but Georgie's parents aren't convinced. The drama in this courtroom is about to go from whoa to what?
Ms. Chmielewski, you say you had a loving 5-year relationship with the defendant's son, Georgie, who unfortunately died in a motorcycle accident. You claim the defendants initially accepted your son, Xavier, but now need proof that they are Xavier's grandparents.
Ms. Chmielewski shares how devastated she was when Georgie died, but his parents are like, who even are you? They never knew about the alleged 5-year relationship. Things get even messier when Georgie's parents question the entire story.
I was devastated, heartbroken.
I just making me understand one thing. Why didn't I know about you?
I don't understand why you didn't know about me either.
Okay, that's not an answer.
5-year relationship.
I've never seen you at my house.
Did you ever ask Georgie why you haven't introduced me to your parents?
No, because we were just friends. It was like a sexual friendship that we had for so many years.
Ms. Chmielewski didn't meet Georgie's parents until after his death, making things super awkward. Mrs. Brown admits she had never heard of her. Tensions rise, and soon DNA tests and ghost stories will be thrown in.
Did you call his parents, or you felt like you didn't know
I didn't
them?
have their
I don't know her. I met her after Georgie passed.
So at what point did you finally decide I need to reach out to his parents because
She didn't. I reached
they
out
may
to
be
her. I reached out to her. Okay, my son is not here. I'm picking up where he left off.
Georgie's friend urges his parents to look into Xavier's paternity. Mrs. Brown decides to check it out after neighborhood chatter won't stop. Then someone mentions Xavier has Georgie's nose, adding even more drama.
I pursued this test is because a friend of Georgie told him you need to find out if this baby is Georgie. It's other people in the neighborhood must be saying something because he came to me after 2 years. He brought this to my attention. It went over my head.
You told me that he looks like all your other grandkids. But that's what you said. He has Georgie's nose.
My grandkids are biracial.
Ms. Chmielewski says she and Georgie once tried a home DNA test but couldn't afford it. Georgie's parents ask why she didn't come to them, and things get awkward. Even the judge seems baffled by this situation.
He and Georgie was doing a home DNA test a couple months before he had passed, and we couldn't come up with the money. After, I think it was like 5 months, then he had passed away. So then
You should have came to me then.
He was 2 weeks before he turned 1.
Did Georgie accept Xavier? Did they have a relationship?
He saw him a couple times.
5-year relationship, you only saw him a couple times?
Turns out there's another possible father who's also passed away. Ms. Chmielewski tried reaching out to his family for a DNA test but got no response. Now, 2 families are involved and things are getting confusing.
Did you ever tell the other guy?
He had passed away when I was 5 months pregnant. He had got murdered. A family member of mine had contacted his family. They did not respond.
So both potential fathers of this beautiful little boy had passed away?
Yes, Your Honor.
So what happened to the parents?
I can't contact, a friend of mine contacted his sister.
Ms. Chmielewski presents a video showing Georgie's supposed spirit near Xavier. The judge and Mrs. Brown look on skeptically. It's funny, spooky, and just when you think it can't get weirder, it does.
And in the video, you can see Georgie's spirit.
I said it looks like a spirit. It said it's like a cloud. We're sitting in the car right now, and my friend is videotaping him and talking to him. And as you can see on the right, there is like this cloudy thing that comes out of nowhere, and my son looks at it, and then it goes away.
Just it's like a reflection.
The DNA results come back.
And Mr. Long and Xavier Chmielewski is 0%.
Judge Lake introduces Ms. Brugger and Ms. Warner, who are already throwing accusations. Ms. Brugger claims her baby was fathered by Ms. Warner's late grandson, while Ms. Warner accuses her of wanting the family's oil money. Buckle up, because there's a sterility bombshell on the way.
Ms. Brugger, you are here to prove to the defendant that your son, Parrish Brooks Jr., was fathered by the defendant's grandson, who was tragically killed 2 months ago in an auto accident. Now, Ms. Warner, you are here with your granddaughter, and you don't believe Parrish Jr. is your great-grandson.
Things heat up as Ms. Warner claims her grandson couldn't have kids, while Ms. Brugger insists he's the father. She describes Parrish's commitment, showing up at appointments, and planning to sign the birth certificate. This is shaping up to be a wild courtroom drama.
We lived together. We were a family. He told everyone my girls were his stepdaughters. He called them his stepdaughters, everything. He was there through my whole pregnancy, all the doctor's appointments. No, he couldn't be there, but as soon as he got out, he was adamant about having the hospital hold on to the birth certificate before they turned it in so that he could sign it.
And then they're arguing about whether the baby looks like Parrish. Yes, it's forehead talk now. Ms. Warner says the baby doesn't resemble the family. but Ms. Brugger insists he looks just like Grandpa. Emotions are high as family members keep adding fuel to the fire.
But to me, that's not his job. He loved the baby, Your Honor, but the baby doesn't even look like him. He doesn't act like him. His forehead's not, there's nothing about him to tell me that that is my grandson.
My son looks...
No, he doesn't.
Around his eyes, he looks just like him.
No,
he looks like his grandpa.
Grandpa ain't never did nothing for Parrish.
Well, that's what y'all say.
Ms. Warner explains she didn't question paternity earlier to keep Parrish happy while alive. She describes how close they were as she raised him after his mother died. Past family issues are suddenly brought back to stir things up.
Ms. Warner, is all this time, even when the baby was there, did you have doubt about the paternity?
But I wasn't going to say anything with Parrish.
You just didn't want to upset Parrish?
No, I did not want to come between Parrish and that. But now Parrish is no longer. I can say my piece now. Your Honor, his mother died in '85. I'm the only person was there for Parrish. That's why I just couldn't hurt him.
Ms. Brugger says she learned about Parrish's death through Facebook. Talk about a rough way to find out. Ms. Warner claims she was too upset to call, and Ms. Veasley accuses Ms. Brugger of shady past relationships. It's a web of accusations, and you need a playbook to keep track.
I got a phone call from one of my friends that seen it on Facebook. They had just found out that morning too, but you would think me.
I'm grieving. That was my son. I didn't have time to call nobody.
Seen it on Facebook.
So when I'm looking at Facebook at like 5 o'clock in the morning going to work, Grandma, have you heard anything about Parrish? I had just talked to Parrish the Friday that he died at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Ms. Brugger denies cheating, saying she was just doing hair as a licensed cosmetologist. Ms. Warner claims Ms. Brugger mistreated Parrish Jr. during a visit, sparking arguments over bad choices. This family has layers of drama, and they're not holding back.
First of all, I have a degree in cosmetology, so I do hair. When me and Parrish first got together, there's a guy I've known for years, and he's my brother's friend. I've been doing his hair for years. It happened one time I was doing his hair. Parrish came home, he got mad about it. I stopped doing his hair. He never came back over again to get his hair done.
Ms. Brugger calls out Parrish's family for not accepting the baby. She says it hurt Parrish deeply that his family didn't celebrate his first child. Emotions peak as they prepare for the DNA results.
She has came to my house to see my son, maybe 3 times, 4. Every time they have seen my son, me and Parrish packed all the kids up and we had to go to their house. After my son was born, my family was at the house all the time coming to see the baby to the point where we're like, oh my God, go home so we get some rest. He was mad because he felt they were not embracing the fact that he finally did have a kid.
The DNA test proves
it has been determined by this court Mr. Harvey is related to Parrish Brooks Jr. Therefore, Parrish Brooks Sr. is also related to Parrish Brooks Jr.
Okay, buckle up, people. Things are about to get messy. The case of Owens Roe versus Raines kicks off with all the drama you'd expect. Ms. Owens says Mr. Raines left her high and dry while she was pregnant with their daughter, Jaime.
Ms. Owens, you say that after a whirlwind teenage romance and a brief marriage to Mr. Raines, he got you pregnant and then left high and dry to raise your daughter, Jamie, on your own. You say the defendant is fully aware he is your daughter's father, and you intend to prove this today.
Things between these two were like a soap opera. Love, fights, and lots of drama. Ms. Owens says she was a couple of weeks pregnant when she moved back in with her parents because, get this, Mr. Raines came home one night with friends and random girls. Awkward.
Because he was a lying, cheating piece of trash.
Oh!
I was actually 2 to 3 weeks pregnant when I went back and to live with my parents when he left me. This is after him and 2 of his friends had come home about 1 o'clock in the morning with 3 girls and expected me to think they were just friends.
Mr. Raines has his own version, though. He says they were on and off like a bad Wi-Fi signal. He even married her after a miscarriage, but after more back and forth drama, he says enough and bailed.
I was young back in those days. We were off and on. We were young, off and on, off and on. She got pregnant initially, and I married her because I was trying to do the right thing. She wound up having a miscarriage. Again, after that, off and on, I got tired of it. It got old. And so she always wanted to go back home, so I let her go back home.
Oh, but here's the kicker. Ms. Owens sent him a letter saying she was pregnant, and his response? Pretty much, nah, not my problem. Honestly, this relationship sounds like a reality TV show waiting to happen.
About 3 to 4 months, I get a letter from her, and that's saying she's pregnant, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I hate your luck. You know, I'm not with you, haven't been with you.
We had a few, not many. About the only time we really did have any connection was in bed.
So you felt like your husband was cheating. I have to ask you, were you cheating too?
No, ma'am, I sure wasn't.
I don't know.
Now it's math time, but not the boring kind. Ms. Mr. Raines pulls out a calendar to prove the dates don't line up. He claims they split in August, so there's no way he's the baby daddy since Jaime was conceived in October.
Is that the calendar you submitted to the court?
Yes. Jamie was born July 31st. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is when Clara says she's pregnant.
No, I got pregnant in October.
This is when she said 6, 8. So I left in August is when I left. I was no longer, we broke up. I was no longer with her in August.
Ms. Owens is like, "Nice try, buddy," and swears up and down that he was still around in October. Meanwhile, the judge is probably sitting there like, "Someone get me Advil."
I come home in October. He dropped me off at my parents' and told them, do something with her. I cannot.
That could have possibly been true. I mean, you were something to deal with.
If you hadn't have been such a piece of crap, I wouldn't have been so hard to get along with.
Maybe, maybe not.
And here's where it gets spicier than hot sauce. Ms. Owens says she got a letter from Mr. Raines while she was 7 months pregnant, and he basically told her to kick rocks. He even said not to give the baby his last name. Ouch.
When I was 7 months pregnant, out to here, and he said, you are not pregnant, it's all in your head. If you are pregnant, it is not mine. My last name, and do not put me on the birth certificate.
No.
I wanted my daughter to have a father like I had growing up. She did not have that.
When Jaime was born, Ms. Owens didn't even call Mr. Raines to say, "Hey, it's baby time." She went full-on independent mode and gave Jaime her maiden name instead.
And so when you gave birth, did you ask him to be there? Did you say, I'm having the baby, do you want to come to the hospital?
I did not want him around. I loved him so much when we got together that I would have done anything for him. And that love turned to pure hate. And I hated him as much as I loved him.
Meanwhile, Mr. Raines says he paid child support and even tried to be involved, but he claims Ms. Owens made it harder than a math test to see Jaime. Things are heating up, and Jaime's about to speak her truth.
Child support came to me. I get a letter.
By child support, it was not, I could have cared less if I had got any child support from him.
Paid. I took responsibility of her. I had family saying she looks like you and stuff. And I just thought I was doing the right thing, Your Honor. It was not easy with Miss Clara to try to even see her, to have a relationship with.
Get the tissues, folks. Jaime shares how tough it was growing up not knowing who her real dad was. She says people told her all the time that she didn't look like Mr. Raines, and another guy might be her dad. Can you imagine hearing that growing up? Yikes.
Who did you think was your father growing up?
I've had several people tell me all through my life that I didn't look like him, that he wasn't, that the timeline was off, that there's this other guy that when I was 12. I was gonna move with Mr. Raines, and she told me that she was with someone else. I let it go because I thought, well, maybe she just don't want me moving with him.
Jaime says the whole thing was super confusing and painful. She just wants the truth already, because all this she said is giving her a headache. And same, honestly.
Being told that somebody else was my father, that, I've seen what the other person looks like. I personally think I look like the other.
You do. And then 6 months ago, when the man you believe to be your father, you think all this time this is my father, but he's going in and out of my life.
Right.
He pretty much affirms what your mother told you when you were 12.
Yeah.
All right, the moment we've all been waiting for. The DNA results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Raines, you are the father.
This is wild, like a scene from a TV show. When Ms. Robertson was 8, her mom casually told her the guy she thought was her dad wasn't, and pointed to some random guy in a phone book saying, "That's your real dad." Imagine having an identity crisis before you even hit double digits. Things only get messier from here.
Ms. Robertson, your world was turned upside down at the age of 8 when you received the shocking news to be your biological father was not. You were informed that the defendant, Mr. McBain Sr., is your father. You've dragged him to court to prove that today.
Yes, Your Honor.
Things get confusing fast. Ms. Robertson found her birth certificate, and guess whose name was on it? Mr. McBain, who claims his name got put there just because he was married to her mom, and he doubted being her dad from the start.
Why, if he's denying it, why is his name on my birth certificate? Why did he sign his rights away? And Your Honor, I have proof right here.
So this is your birth certificate?
Yes, my name may be on there, Your Honor. However, it's on there because the state put it on there. I had nothing to do with putting my name on her birth certificate.
It gets gets awkward and funny. Mr. McBain accuses Ms. Graham, his ex, of cheating and even claims she suggested a threesome. He says that's why he doubts Ms. Robertson is his kid, but the drama's far from over.
She was unfaithful. She asked me for a threesome at one point in the marriage as well.
After 8 years old, how were you coping?
I let it go until I turned right before my 13th birthday. And that's when I had told my mother that all I wanted for my 13th birthday was to meet Mr. McBain. She got it for me.
When Ms. Robertson turned 13, she just wanted to meet Mr. McBain. They met for 40 minutes and then he was gone again. She never heard from him after that. Can you imagine how much that hurt?
What do you remember?
It only lasted about 40 minutes, and that was like more than anything in the world for me at that time. And then it was over. After that, I believe I had talked to him a couple times after that. Then all of a sudden, his phone number got disconnected. It was taken out of the phone book. He was just gone, like he fell off the face of the earth.
I'm not her dad.
Here's a twist. Mr. McBain says the Coast Guard told him he was sterile, yet he had more kids later, which makes his claim a bit questionable, though he insists it proves he's not Ms. Robertson's dad.
I'm saying I'm not her father because while in the Coast Guard, just before she informed me that she was pregnant.
And you've got 3 kids after that, Mr. McBain. How
Yes,
are you
I have
sterile?
3 kids after that. It was due to stress. I was under a great deal of...
you were under stress with other women.
I never once cheated on Miss Graham. I'm not like her.
Mr. McBain said he caught Ms. Graham cheating because of some clothes he found, but Ms. Graham insists they were his clothes. It's a classic, no, you did it argument, like a reality show where nothing makes sense.
I was working 7 days a week for about 3 months straight and went back home. As I'm walking across the living room, I look over and there's a pair of boots and a coat on the floor and a coat on
Your Honor, those were his boots and his coat.
I walked over to her room, I beat on the door, I said, I don't know who you are in there, but you've got 30 seconds to get out of my house or you're gonna be really sorry.
No.
Things turn cringeworthy. Mr. McBain thinks a guy from one of their threesomes could be Ms. Robertson's dad, but Ms. Graham denies it. Meanwhile, Ms. Robertson is just stuck in the middle, thinking, what is my life?
I believe that the guy that we had the threesome with is actually the father of Miss Roberts.
Excuse me. And who is that?
It was an individual I was stationed with.
Yeah, you were stationed with a lot.
I know, and so were you.
But wait a minute, other men could potentially be Miss Robertson's father?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. Well, between the Coast Guard telling me I was sterile, the fact that the man's Hawaiian, he's Samoan.
The court reads the DNA results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. McBain Sr., you are not her father.
This kicks off with a wild courtroom intro. Garnett v. Langston. Ms. Garnett says she's here to prove Mr. Langston is her dad, while he's got some doubts. Both want apologies, and things just get crazier from there.
Ms. Garnett, you and your mother, Ms. Miller, have opened your case to prove to the defendant that he is your biological father. You are baffled because you consider him a daddy and a best friend and state his doubt is unwarranted and demand an apology once the results are revealed.
Mr. Langston sent a text saying he wasn't sure he was Ms. Garnett's dad and told her to ask your mom. It was like a grenade in a family chat and shook Ms. Garnett. But if you think that's bad, just wait, it gets worse.
So this started with a text.
So after almost 2 years of reaching out to my father after visiting him in 2015, finally responded with this message.
So I think your mother blanked me. She was missing around when you were born. I don't want to keep causing you pain, but I have mixed feelings about it. Talk to your mother and find out the truth.
Ms. Garnett visited Mr. Langston at a family funeral, and things were cool until he ghosted her afterward. Mr. Langston admits he always had doubts. His reasons? Well, there's something else.
We live in different states, Your Honor, but we had always been close. I went to visit him in Chicago for a funeral. I was by his side for one of our family members. Everything was great, but when I returned back home, I don't know what happened. He just cut off communication.
Well, I wasn't talking to her like I normally do.
Why?
Because I was just harboring this that she's not my daughter.
At a funeral, Mr. Langston casually mentioned he might not be her father, like it was no big deal. Ms. Garnett was blindsided, but later he took it back. Next, money and DNA tests come into play.
2 years ago, when I was at the funeral with him, he had brought up for the very first time that he thought I may not have been his daughter, which blew my mind. Went on and on about him and my mother's past and all this, but then after he vomited all this tragedy on me, he recanted and took it back.
Bearing up feeling because I seen the fact right away, and I'm not trying to hurt her. I love her.
Money made it spicy. Mr. Langston says he paid child support for over 20 years. There was even an old DNA test Ms. Garnett took, but it was never finished, left like unfinished homework. Next, get ready for heartbreak.
I paid child support not only 18 years, I paid it 20 years.
But when
they
did
started
you start?
sending me checks back for overpayment, $1,700. shouldn't
how
be
come you
overpaid.
didn't take that $100,000 for a DNA test when before I turned 36 years
I'll
old?
tell you, I have an answer for you.
The text shook Ms. Garnett to her core. She shared how much she bonded with Mr. Langston and hoped their connection meant something. Despite the pain, she wasn't ready to give up. Up next, Mr. Langston gets super honest.
When he sent that text to me, I cried my hardest cry. I was devastated. I felt like he was taking my identity away from me because I've always known I was a Langston. I have so much about my father. When he came back into my life, an adult, it was like a piece of the puzzle was missing.
Mr. Langston says sending that text was one of the hardest things he's done. He couldn't keep lying about his doubts. He even took his first plane ride at 61 to resolve this, his version of a midlife crisis with paternity tests. Then, social media joins the mix.
I didn't want to hurt her. When I had that phone and did that text, it crushed me when I pushed that button because I know what the effect was going to have on her. I didn't want to. But how I'm going to deny how I feel in the inside? How I'm going to do that when I got grandbabies and I want them to be my grandbaby? That'll be the best news I can ever have.
Ms. Garnett posted a side-by-side photo of her and Mr. Langston's dad, and her cousins went wild, saying they looked alike. It turned into a family resemblance debate that landed in court. But DNA results are about to steal the spotlight.
You began to post on Facebook.
After the text message, I did some soul searching. I was just laying in my bed looking through my phone, and I saw a picture of myself. This picture reminded me of this picture of my grandfather. This is Mr. Langston's father. And I noticed some similarities in our faces. I said, "It's my grandfather. Do you see the resemblance?"
Boom.
When it comes to 36-year-old Shauna Garnett, Mr. Langston, you are not father.
Miss Garcia explains that Miss Huffman, who's younger than her and her father, claims to have 2 kids with her dad. Garcia's response? DNA test, please. Things are heating up, and it's getting as wild as microwave leftovers.
Ms. Garcia, you claim that before your father's death, Ms. Huffman, who is 31 years younger than him and 6 years younger than you, and was pregnant with another. You have petitioned the court for a DNA test to protect your father's estate and his name by supporting that he is not the father of the defendant's 2 daughters.
Garcia says her dad was certain these kids weren't his and called out Huffman for getting around. Huffman isn't having it though, and her side is coming in hot.
Well, I'm basically here on behalf of my dad because he passed away about 2 years ago. He was not sure that if they were his or not because she had gotten around.
So the questions that remain have been unanswered. So Ms. Huffman, it's your belief that Ms. Garcia's father did both of your children?
Yes.
Miss Huffman shares she met Garcia's dad at a carnival because nothing says love like Ferris wheels. She insists she wasn't seeing anyone else when her daughter Claudia was conceived. But Garcia is about to drop some Facebook drama, so buckle up.
So take me to the day you believe you conceived Claudia, your older child.
On March 17th of 2013.
And you all were dating, you hanging out together?
It was more like hanging out in the truck.
You would hang out in his truck?
Goof around in the beginning, and then we got into the whole thing on how you get pregnant.
Huffman DM'd Garcia out of the blue about the kids, and Garcia had no clue they even existed. Suddenly, Garcia is throwing out serious accusations that change the whole story.
She messaged me on Facebook and she said that she was pregnant with a child and that she had a 2-year-old daughter, that they were my dad's. And he basically said that yes, that he was messing around with her, but he didn't believe that those were his children. She got around, pretty much said that they weren't his.
Garcia says her dad doubted the kids were his because he caught Huffman getting cozy with the neighbor. Huffman denies it, and things get juicier with talk of a previous paternity test.
And he pretty much told me that one day she was at his house and he couldn't find her, so he went looking for her, and he saw her in the backyard with the neighbor and she was giving him oral sex.
Whoa!
No, it's not.
Did her father actually catch you with another man?
No.
Huffman once tested another man for Claudia's paternity before, which adds to the mess. A court employee confirmed Huffman wasn't sure who the dad was. Meanwhile, Garcia did something surprising despite her doubts.
While assisting the defendant, Ms. Huffman, with setting up a DNA test for her and her daughters, she unknowingly admitted that she tested another man in the past. She said that she did not remember if she brought birth certificate with her the last time she tested a man against Claudia. which indicated to me that she truly does not know who the biological father of Claudia is.
Garcia, being nicer than anyone expected, still listed Huffman's daughters as siblings during her father's cremation arrangements. Huffman refused to sign, raising more doubts and bringing everyone to one conclusion: DNA time.
To get the results for my kids, to be able to financially make it with them with their health issues. There's times where I don't even have a phone because I'm putting it in for the kids.
I hope that they are my sisters, and I hope to tell them about my dad and what a wonderful man he was.
And Carrie Garcia is 99.9% you are related.